God bless the Rio Grande Valley. I'm thrilled to be with so many incredible friends down here in the valley. Thank you for coming together and standing as one for the great state of Texas. Let me say first of all how incredibly honored I am, how humbled I am for the great Senator Eddie Lucio to stand with me and support me today. Senator Lucio has been an incredible leader for South Texas and for the entire state of Texas for more than 3 decades. He has been a Democrat elected from the Valley decade after decade, standing strong on principle. And thank you for standing up, and I'm proud to stand alongside you. And I gotta tell you, Mayra Flores is an absolute rock star. She was a spectacular congresswoman, and she is once again going to be a spectacular congresswoman. And Mike Lee, I love like a brother. He's from Utah, and yet I'm sure he told you he lived here in the valley and he loves the valley. And I got to tell all the rest of you, you know, every 2 years, every 4 years, politicians come in front of us and they say, this is the most important election of our lifetimes. But this one, like, holy cow, has there ever been a greater difference than between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris? And let's be clear, in the Senate race, there has never been a greater difference between my record and that of Colin Allred. Now listen, I think every race ought to be a contest between the candidates' records, between what have you done and what is your vision for the state. I've spent 12 years representing and fighting for 30 million Texans, and my priorities have been threefold: jobs, freedom, and security. Let's start with jobs. Texans want jobs. We want more jobs. We want higher wages. We want better opportunity for our kids and our grandkids. For more than a decade, we have had over 1,000 people a day coming to Texas. There are a lot of reasons they come to Texas, but the number one reason is Texas is where the jobs are. And it's not rocket science why. If you want lots of jobs, you want low taxes, you want low and reasonable wages, and you want an environment where small businesses can grow and prosper and expand. If you know only one stat on jobs, it should be this one: 2/3 of all new jobs come from small businesses. When small businesses are doing well, you get lots and lots of jobs. It's also not complicated where the people are coming from. They're coming from bright blue states like California and Illinois and New York and New Jersey and Connecticut that have high taxes and high regulations and idiot politicians who destroy jobs. And I got to tell you, this Senate race, more than anything else, it's about one very simple thing: keeping Texas Texas. What we're doing here is working, and I am so excited about the economic growth and the prosperity and the future for the Rio Grande Valley. But we got to make sure that politicians in Washington don't screw it up. Now, for 12 years, I've fought for jobs every day. Number one, to lower taxes. I worked hand in hand with President Trump on the 2017 tax cuts that produced the lowest unemployment in 50 years. It also produced the lowest African American unemployment ever recorded and the lowest Hispanic unemployment ever recorded. You've got taxes and then you've got regulations, and Washington is really good at regulations that destroy jobs. I remember years ago, I was out in West Texas and I asked a bunch of folks there, I said, what's the difference between locusts and regulators? I said, the thing is you can't use pesticide on the regulators. And this old West Texas farmer, he leaned forward and said, want to bet? But I'll give you a great example of that. Just 3 years ago, city leaders in Laredo came to meet me in D.C. And they talked about 4 brand new bridges being built here in South Texas. 2 in Laredo, 1 in Eagle Pass, and 1 right in Brownsville. And all 4 of the bridges were being delayed by bureaucratic roadblocks from the Biden-Harris White House. And they asked me, Ted, can you take the lead to help us get these bridges built? I said, absolutely. I drafted legislation, got bipartisan support, got it passed through Congress, and just a couple of months ago, the permits were granted. Let me tell you what those bridges will mean for South Texas. They will mean thousands upon thousands of new jobs, billions in new investment for South Texas. The Texas Association of Business refers to my legislation speeding up the permitting of South Texas bridges as the single most important legislation for Texas-Mexico trade since the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. That's what it means to fight for jobs. On the other hand, you've got Colin Allred's record. I didn't have this pegged for an Allred crowd. Colin Allred, in his first 4 years in the House, he voted with Nancy Pelosi 100% of the time. Every single vote. It was like he walked in, handed his voting card to her and said, here, Nancy, whatever San Francisco wants, Texas wants the same thing. So Colin Allred has voted for higher taxes. He's voted for trillions in spending, trillions in debt, borrowing and printing money we don't have. That is driving inflation that is hurting every Texas family. When you pay more at the grocery store, when you pay more in electricity and insurance and rent and health care, it is because of the spending binge that Kamala Harris and Colin Allred went on. And when it comes to regulations, listen, I've spent 12 years as the leading defender of oil and gas in the United States Senate. Oil and gas is prosperity. There are millions of jobs in Texas that depend on oil and gas. The Eagleford Shale has brought enormous resources to South Texas. And by the way, it's not just the money from oil and gas, it also funds our schools. If you care about good public schools, if you care about amazing university system, billions and billions of dollars from oil and gas go to fund our schools and our universities. Amen. And Colin Allred has voted against oil and gas and energy jobs over and over and over again. Colin Allred has voted twice against fracking. When Joe Biden issued a ban on new permits to export liquid natural gas, Colin Allred voted with Joe Biden and the radicals and against Texas jobs. And I got to tell you, the Valley is really seeing the consequences of this, with just a couple of months ago a decision from a radical federal court in D.C. revoking the permit for a new LNG export terminal in Brownsville, 6,000 high-paying jobs that 3 left-wing judges were happy to just destroy. Now, I hope that decision is reversed. I am fighting to get that decision reversed, but I'll tell you, the left-wing judges that struck it down are exactly the kind of judges Colin Allred wants to see put on the bench. All right, let's talk about freedom. I've spent 12 years fighting to defend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, fighting to defend free speech, fighting to defend religious liberty, fighting to defend the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, what does Colin Allred say about that? Well, on the Second Amendment, here's what he said, and I quote, "I wish the Second Amendment had never been written." Now, Myra, I gotta say, if there were a vacancy on the city council in San Francisco, Colin Allred would be a formidable candidate. Like, holy cow, no Second Amendment, that is a winning platform in San Francisco. But thank God this is Texas. By the way, how many of y'all drove your trucks here tonight? Colin Allred voted in favor of Joe Biden's ban on gasoline engines. Biden issued an order that within 8 years, 2/3 of all new cars sold in America have to be electric. And Allred voted in favor of that. Who the hell is Colin Allred to tell you and your family what kind of car or truck you're gonna buy? And you want to understand just how out of touch Congressman Allred is. Colin Allred voted repeatedly in favor of boys competing in girls' sports, in favor of boys and girls' restrooms, boys and girls' locker rooms, boys and girls' changing rooms. Let me ask you, don't our daughters have any rights? How about the right not to be in a changing room next to a fully naked, grown-ass man? And I'll tell you, just a few weeks ago, Colin Allred joined with over 100 left-wing Democrats, including most of the members of the squad, in writing a letter about what they wanted to see about the military. Now, you may be saying, okay, thank God. At least something sensible. I'm sure they wrote, we need to strengthen our military. I'm sure they wrote, we need to stand with our veterans, we need to pay our active duty military more, we need to invest in readiness, we need to be better prepared to defend America. Listen, every one of us would agree with that if that's what they wrote. Not a word of that was in the letter. Let me tell you what was in Colin Allred's letter. He said every military base in America needs to be able to host drag shows. He said every military base in America should provide free of charge sex change surgeries for soldiers. And then he went further. He said every military base in America should provide sex change services free for children on the military base. And finally, he said every military base in America ought to be able to fly above it the transgender flag. Now listen, call me old-fashioned, but I think it is the job of our military to be the most lethal fighting force on the face of the planet. To stand up and defend America and to be prepared, if necessary, to kill our enemies. And the only flag that should fly over a military base is the flag of the United States of America. Finally, let's talk about security. Most important responsibility any of us has is to protect our children and our families. Security means standing with law enforcement. And let me say to every police officer and member of law enforcement here, thank you, thank you, thank you for risking your lives to keep our families safe. 30 million Texans are grateful for you, and let me tell you right now, it's my job to have your back. Colin Allred, unfortunately, has voted no over and over and over again on law enforcement. He's voted twice to defund the police. He's voted to release violent criminals from jail, to release murderers and rapists and carjackers from jail. That ain't Texas. And then there's the border. Look, this is one thing everyone here, you know every day because you're living it. what is happening at the border. 11.5 million illegal aliens in the last 4 years, the worst in history. This is a humanitarian crisis. It is a public safety crisis. It is a national security crisis. And as you know, you guys are seeing it every day. You can't see the dead bodies. You can't see the women who've been sexually assaulted. You can't see the children who have been brutalized. You can't see the people who have died of fentanyl and drug overdoses and defend it. It is wrong, it is cruel, it is evil, and it must end. When Donald Trump was president, I worked hand in hand with him to secure the border. And we achieved incredible success, and we produced the lowest rate of illegal immigration in 45 years. We did it before, we'll do it again. Colin Allred on the border has been nothing short of terrible. He's voted for open borders over and over and over again. He's voted against the border wall 3 separate times. And if you think border security is important, Colin Allred says you are a racist. He refers to the border wall as, quote, that racist border wall, and he has pledged to personally tear down, quote, that racist border wall. Right now, Colin Allred is spending millions of dollars running TV ads with him smiling in front of that thing he calls that racist border wall. One number everyone ought to know is 13,000. 13,000 is the number of convicted murderers who are illegal aliens who have been released, who are wandering free and clear all across this country when Donald Trump is reelected. We are going to find every one of those 13,000 murderers. We are going to arrest them, and we are going to deport them. I'm going to end with some good news and some bad news. The good news is people's eyes are opening up. Look, this is no longer a battle between Republican and Democrat. This is no longer a battle between conservative and liberal. This is a battle between sane and crazy. These people are nuts. Look, one of our 2 major political parties can no longer figure out what is a woman. That didn't used to be a trick question. Like, for thousands and thousands of years, you used to be able to, you go up to a caveman, say, "Sir, you know what a woman is?" The answer would have been, "Yep, sure do. There's one right there, And I'll tell you what, every one of these Democrats who says they don't know what a woman is, they're lying. They're all lying. All right, I'm going to prove it to you. I'm going to prove to you right now that Joe Biden knows what a woman is. He only sniffs the hair of girls. All right, Mike, I've been in the Senate 12 years. Have you ever once seen Joe Biden come up and sniff Chuck Schumer's hair? He knows. And you know what? I am even more certain Bill Clinton knows what a woman is. Now, you don't want to leave your sister alone with him, but he knows. And everyone realized this is nonsense. These people are cray-cray. But here's the bad news. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have put a bullseye on the state of Texas. Schumer has been explicit. I'm his #1 target in the entire country. They are spending $100 million trying to beat me. They are saturating the TV with attack ads. So I want to ask everyone here to do 3 things. Number 1, contribute. When you leave tonight, thank you. When you leave tonight, pull out your phone, go to tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org, tedcruz.org. It's tedcruz.org. Go to tedcruz.org and contribute. Give $10 or $25 or $50 or $100, or maybe someone here can give $500 or $1,000 or more. But everyone can give something. Maybe you're in high school. Maybe you're a teenager. You can give $10. You can give $25. $25 is what, 2 pizzas with no toppings? And I'll tell you, the reason to give is the 10s and 25s and 50s, those add up, but also when you give, you got skin in the game. You're invested. Second thing I want to ask you to do is volunteer. Sign up to volunteer. We have thousands upon thousands of people knocking on doors, making phone calls. And the third thing I want to ask you to do is vote. Early voting started yesterday. It's going on all this week and all next week. Come out and vote. Vote for Donald Trump. Vote for me. Vote for Myra Flores. And vote for Republicans up and down the ticket. And I got to say, by the way, there was a time when the Valley was considered a Democrat stronghold. But I'll tell you what, Hispanics, our community has always been conservative. Eddie Lucio has always represented this community, and the values of this community has always been conservative. What has happened is the national Democrats have gone nuts. And the Valley has never been a place that supported open borders and hating oil and gas and taxing small businesses out of existence and having boys compete against girls in sports. So I am asking you to stand and vote your values. All right, we're going to wrap up right now, but I'm going to say 2 things. Number 1, Amen. You know what? You're in the right rally. If you came from Kamala's, you're welcome here. We are in the middle of a 53-stop bus tour all over the state. Now, the bus is outside. I'm about to run. In 3 minutes, I'm going to do a hit on Hannity. So there's a van. If you see me going into a van, I'm not selling drugs to a junior high kid. It's a mobile studio, so I'm going to do Hannity really quickly. I'm going to come out of Hannity, and I'll be by the bus. I'm happy to take pictures with everyone here. And if you like, we have white markers. You can sign the bus, and you can go with us on all 53 stops all over Texas. And let me finally say this. Freedom is worth defending. Women are worth defending. Our kids are worth defending. The Constitution is worth defending. The Bill of Rights is worth defending. And Texas is worth defending. Thank you, and God bless you.